Webb, welcome to the Invisible Strength podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And good to see you as always, Chris. Thanks for being here.
No, of course, wonderful to be with you and excited to talk with Webb for sure.
Absolutely. So, Webb, for anyone who doesn't know you yet, can you tell us who you are in your own words?
Yeah. Who I am is based upon the things that I've done, played soccer, the diagnosis that I went through, and that whole experience is largely tied into my personality and who I am. But I'd like to say I'm just a regular 22-year-old guy who happens to have an amazing family and a really, really great group of friends and people around me. And I'm definitely blessed in that way. I'm definitely a believer of being a product of your own environment and who you surround yourself with. And so, yeah, I'm very blessed in that way. And I think with all those things around me and tied into who I am, that makes me who I am.
That's amazing. Especially when you're going through a health conditions, having that family and friend support is unprecedented when trying to get through those challenging times.
hmm Yeah, for sure. A large part of my process throughout my own personal experience was leaning on my friends and family throughout
Mhm.
all of it. So.
You have to. So, Webb, soccer has clearly been a huge part of your life, and you played at William and Mary and then GW. What did the sport mean to you growing up, and what did it give you beyond actually playing?
Yeah, I started playing when I was 4, super young age. That was a sport that I was drawn to and that I happened to be the best at, and it's carried me up until now, really. I'll be going into my final season of college soccer. It's always been a huge part of my life and part of what makes me me. In terms of what sports give to the athletes themselves is huge, especially for me and my own experiences of having played soccer at a pretty good level for a long time now. The lessons that you learn and the things that you get taught from being an athlete, you can apply in all other aspects of your life. That's why I love sports, and the things that you learn from it are huge.
What ways do you think your preparation as an athlete and particularly as a soccer player have translated to how you've dealt with your condition and every other challenge in your life?
Yeah, for me, when I was diagnosed, I was a freshman in college. I was playing soccer at the time, and I had been for a super long time. The challenges that you face, like in a game or in a team sport where there's going to be challenges and bumps in the road, that's something that I definitely applied when I was facing my diagnosis. And I think all other people can too, for sure.
Can you take us back when you first started noticing that something was wrong and how you started to figure out that you had aplastic anemia?
Yeah, it all started my freshman year of college. That first fall semester was really good. I played in every game as a freshman, scored a couple goals, started a couple games. I thought I was doing really well for myself. And it started during that winter break when I went home. I had a good Christmas, good New Year. And it was first couple weeks of January 2023 that I first started getting weird things happening to me. So I had weird bruises all under my legs and my back and my chest, which for me at the time, I brushed it off, whatever. I don't know what that is. Could be a rash. I don't know. It'll be fine, whatever, right? And slowly more started to build up. So when I would go for a run, I'd be completely just out of breath, almost off the bat, which was unusual after having just played a whole season of soccer. And then other weird things. I had bleeding. I had sores in my mouth, and the little rashes that ended up being blood vessel bleeding under the skin. It wasn't raised. All those things together, my parents were super concerned, probably more so than me. That's when I decided to go to my local ER 10 minutes down the street where I'm from in St. Mary's. Yeah.
What sorts of fears fled through your mind? I'm thinking about that moment when you notice, especially someone like you who's an athlete, who's used to having a routine, that
hmm
routine gets disrupted. What's normal is not happening. How are you like comprehending all of this? What sort of fears fled through your mind at that moment?
Yeah. I think this can be said for a lot of people. They think they're invincible.
Yeah,
I was 19,
right.
super healthy my entire life up until this point. And so there was a couple of weeks of waiting before I got my diagnosis.
Hmm.
And what you're talking about in those couple of weeks where they were running tests on me, they ended up not being able to figure out what was wrong with me here. So I got helicoptered up to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and had another week of tests there. Yeah, that's super scary for me. There was definitely a turning point for me where I realized this might be more serious than I originally thought, especially after when I was here at my local hospital and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And once I got up to Hopkins in Baltimore, but in that couple week period is when I started to realize there was something going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, scary time. There's nothing worse than the waiting game, trying to figure out what's actually going on. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a relief when you get the diagnosis just
Mhm.
because you have one answer, but then there's a whole host of other problems or challenges that then come with the diagnosis. Many people haven't heard of aplastic anemia. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah. So what aplastic anemia is, and going back to the point you just made about the waiting game and almost being ready for a diagnosis, that was definitely true for me. And in that couple weeks that I was waiting, me and my parents were Googling what could be causing the symptoms, and aplastic anemia definitely came up, but that was something that I had never personally heard about before. But what aplastic anemia is it's basically where your bone marrow stops making platelets, red blood cells, and white blood cells, which are all essential to live. When they got my diagnosis, mine was what's called idiopathic, which is no known cause. So basically, all aplastic anemia is just a bone marrow failure disease where your bone marrow just stops producing those things that are essential to life.
Goodness. Talk to us a bit about how not only you received the news, but what was that journey of recovery like where you could get back to a place where playing a sport was possible?
Yeah, that was honestly a super long process. I mean, immediately after my diagnosis, I knew I had like a really long road ahead of me. And it was. I still remember the moment that I got my diagnosis. I'd been waiting for weeks. I'd been mentally preparing and almost ready to hear whatever it was going to be. And after those couple of weeks, they had really come down to two final options that it could be, which was leukemia, malignant type cancer, and aplastic anemia. When I got my diagnosis, I was definitely like mixed emotions on it.
Mhm.
I got the lesser of the two, which I consider myself super lucky in that way. But at the same time, like you're saying, I had to drop out of school. I had to quit soccer for a year plus. And I think that can be a lot to process at one time for sure for anybody. And I remember vividly the moment that I got my diagnosis, my dad, it was just me and my dad in the room at the time. The rest of my family was at home and they came in, told me what it was. I remember it was the first time I ever saw my own dad cry, which is
Mhm.
super, super emotional for me. But at the same time, I was pretty much ready for whatever it was going to be. I'd been mentally prepared for it. I already had the support of my family, friends around me. And I knew that whatever I was going to end up having to do to beat it, I was just going to do it. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
I asked because I know when I got my lupus diagnosis and the rheumatologist was any questions, and I was a coach. I was coaching basketball. Like, when can I play basketball again? Like, I was
Yes.
just
Yeah.
the same feeling. So
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
know how much our identities can get wrapped up in the sports we're a part of. So I
Yeah.
just was curious about that. But thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And no, like you make a good point. I think, especially for me at the time, maybe not, maybe a little less so now, but at the
Mhm.
time I was a freshman. My entire personality was wrapped around the fact that I was a Division I soccer player. And now that that was gone in the blink of an eye, it's a lot to process, but I was ready to face it. So,
For sure. For sure.
Did you know that you would be able to play soccer again, or during that time were you thinking that you were just down and out?
yeah, like I made it a goal of mine almost immediately that I was going to come back and play. Really, throughout the entire process, there were definitely moments, many moments of doubt, many moments of, will I be able to go back to my normal life? Will I be able to go back to school and hang out with my friends and play soccer again? Throughout the process, that ebbed and flowed. But the main thing throughout the entire thing was I kept soccer as a motivating factor for me. I remember next to my hospital bed, I had written my goals of what I wanted to do. I wanted to come back, be a starter on the team, be an all conference player, score goals, and do all those things and live my normal life again. And I think that was definitely huge for me throughout the entire thing, despite the tough times and my darkest moments.
Talk to us a bit about your support system. I know you mentioned your father, but at some point you had to tell your teammates and your coaches and even getting transferring to a new team. How has your support system been throughout this journey?
Yeah, that's honestly the main thing. That's the biggest part of the story for myself, at least in my eyes,
Hmm.
was my family, specifically my parents
Yeah.
and my team as well. But my parents, they were with me every night, every step of the way. Everything that I was doing, they were there with me. Like one of them, there was a little cot couch type thing in all the hospital rooms that I was staying in. Either my mom or my dad would stay with me every single night. I truly believe I would not be sitting here now without my parents.
No doubt.
I could not have done that on my own. My support was unreal. And then my team as well. I remember that night that I got my diagnosis, I texted my team. I remember there's 7 of us in our soccer class, and I
Yeah.
had 7 back-to-back calls with all of them. Yeah, it's a really good feeling knowing that you have that support and that people care about you and they want you to beat it and do well. I think that was another big motivating factor for me was not only for myself and for my family, but like the want and the desire and the need to go back and be at William and Mary with my best friends and be playing soccer again with them and hanging out with them and all those things.
Truly incredible that you have such a wonderful support network.
Mhm.
Can you take us through that process of being in the hospital to achieving your goals and getting back on the soccer field?
Yeah. So right after my diagnosis, I went home for the month of February 2023 to quarantine and get my body ready for what was to come. And so I was admitted to Johns Hopkins like the last day of February. I had 9 days straight of chemotherapy,
Mhm.
1 day of like full body radiation. And then on March 9th, 2023 was when I had my bone marrow transplant from my sister, who ended up being my perfect match, which
Come
is another
on.
thing that I'm very lucky for. Because I know the odds of that aren't super high. And that's another thing that ties into what we've been saying about the overall support system that I had from my sister, who was my match, who was super willing to come up and do all those things during her senior year of high school while she was graduating. My parents, my little brother, really everybody was so instrumental for me throughout the entire thing. And yeah, so after my bone marrow transplant, March 9th, 2023, I was in the hospital for 7 weeks after that. And honestly, there's so much that I could say about what went on and so many things. But more than anything, it just took a ton of time for me to come back. Like I remember I left the hospital in April. I had to stay in Baltimore in the area for appointments and stuff like that, and eventually it weaned off. So it started off maybe at 1 appointment every day, and then 3 appointments a week, and then once a week, so I could go home. And that summer, I went home finally, and I starting from ground zero. I had lost like 40 pounds. I had no hair. I looked like a shell of myself. At this point, I was feeling very lucky to just be back, but I knew another long road ahead of me to being able to be a Division One soccer player again. And so, yeah, I slowly built back day by day, started lifting weights again, running again, and playing soccer again. I like almost forgot how to play soccer. It had been around a year. So that summer, I just trained, got back to sort of physically where I was at, ended up redshirting that fall season. So I redshirted my sophomore year. And then the first game that I played back was March 1st, 2024, the following spring. I mean, it took almost a year for me to play competitively again. And yeah, it was a long process. But yeah, this all ties back into the fact of the great support system that I have and being motivated by them and working my way back slowly.
That first time you step onto the pitch, what
Hmm.
emotions come over you? Like you've been away for over a year and you're on that pitch and you're playing. What's going through your mind?
Yeah, by this point, I was ready to play again. I've been waiting, sitting on the sideline, watching my buddies and my teammates play. And that can be super frustrating for sure.
For sure.
But for me, I was definitely trying to take it slow and I knew there was going to be a time when I was ready and that's when I would come back. That first game back, it was at Maryland. It was a spring game.
Mhm.
And I came on the field, and it's one of those feelings that you wish you could bottle up and keep with you forever. Unbelievable, honestly. It's just like a blur. Everything that happened in the game, didn't really care about, to be honest. I was so happy to be playing again, and my family and my friends, because I'm from Maryland, my family and my friends a lot of them were at that game as well. So honestly, an unbelievable feeling. And really, since then is where everything started getting better, soccer wise, for sure. So
It's an unbelievable feeling when you're like, I'm back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Especially with in that game as well, the support from my coaches and my teammates, all of it was very surreal for me at least to have gone from weighing 120 pounds, no hair, super skinny, couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, to being back to the point where I can play again and play at this high level of soccer that I used to be at. It was definitely a good feeling for me personally, and I'm sure for my parents as well and my family and my friends, it was something good to see for sure.
Getting You talk about being a shell of yourself and such a long journey to get back to where you are now. In your Instagram profile, you have God first. So I want to
Mhm.
ask, how has faith been a part of this journey for you?
Yeah, that was another huge piece of it alongside support from my family and friends. Another huge motivating factor for me was my faith and my belief in God. I always believed in God, but it didn't hit me until I was facing death. And that's where I really, in the hospital, I had to surrender to a higher power, and I was praying multiple times a day, every day. Sometimes definitely questioning, like, why me? How could I have been the guy? This diagnosis happens to 2 out of a million people every year, and I just happened to be one of those 2 people. And so for a long time, I really, like, questioned why. But I think over time, I slowly realized that everything happens for a reason. God had chosen me for whatever reason for this diagnosis. And yeah, I definitely strengthened my relationship and spoke with God a lot more once this happened. And I think now for sure, I definitely carry that with me, just through that experience and Him bringing me back and giving me a second chance. I really just tried to put it in God's hands. I obviously there's only so much that I could do,
For
and
sure.
my doctors were amazing as well. I really just tried to put it in God's hands, and if I get a second chance at life, then I really got to make the most of it. And so that's what I've been trying to do ever since. So,
Hmm.
mhm,
That's beautifully said.
mhm.
I think as you lift up that whole notion of like asking questions, like what do you think suffering to the degree in which you've suffered, how has that affected you in your ability to have like compassion for other people or like a teammate having a tough time? Like how are you able to sort of like deal with supporting and encouraging others because of what you've gone
That's definitely a huge thing that I've taken away. I was always a empathetic, emotional, maybe softer type of person in that way beforehand, but definitely now having gone through that mindset perspective switch of other people, bad things happen to people, other
through?
people are going through things.
Hmm.
Especially for me, the person who's gone through something like that, I can offer a lot of perspective, maybe insight into how to get through something tough that maybe somebody's going through, like whether it's an illness or a chronic disease, or maybe even just something like at work or like in your personal life with your relationships. It's definitely a perspective that I uh, picked up from my experience, and taking a step back for a second and realizing that it's all going to be okay,
Hmm.
because whatever it is that you're going through, small or big, nothing it pales in comparison to your health and things that you're facing, whether it's a chronic disease or like an illness type thing that I had. Really, like the little things in life that people take for granted or people complain about. I think it's just something that I can help people better understand those types of things for sure.
For sure, for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's definitely silver linings that come with these tough challenges, which you've pointed out very clearly. Even if someone else is going through a tough time, regardless of what it is, especially with health conditions, it can still feel very isolating. Often say you can have the best support network in the world, but you still feel alone at times. Did you ever experience feeling like that? And how did you get through it?
Yeah, for sure. It brings up a good point. You could have the best support system, the best parents like I did, but at the end of the day, only really what you're going through, because it's you. You got the diagnosis, you have to handle it on your own, really. And there's internal battles that you face only, right? It's what you're going through in the moment. And that can definitely feel lonely or isolating. The big thing for me is like, I always had this internal kind of drive or motivation to really think about and always keep the goals on the back of my mind of what I wanted to do when I come back. And really, another huge thing of it is it's okay to not feel good, and it's okay to
Mm.
appear vulnerable to other people. I'm definitely a person that tries to hide that sometimes, but I know throughout that entire thing, my parents saw a lot of vulnerable moments from me that maybe they had never seen before. And so rather than hiding it or making it isolating on yourself, I would say really try to open up and show people around you how you're feeling and be open and honest, and really lean on those, like really, really lean on the other people that support you. That will boost your morale and make you feel like you're not lonely. You still have people around you that support you.
I'm thinking about what you're saying, Webb, and just the way in which trying to communicate that message to teammates are in a space where perfectionism comes up. And I think about, especially among young men, the way our anxiety can show up as frustration. Like we might be scared, but we try to seem like powerful rather than seeming vulnerable. How do you think your message of this like tenderness and this compassion has strengthened your leadership on the team?
That's a really good point. I would say especially for athletes within a team, you want to appear like you're okay, or maybe you make comparisons to your friends who are still living this normal life, and maybe you feel like you need to show that like, oh, I'm okay. Put on a tough face. It'll be everything's fine. When maybe it really isn't. It's like the people around you, like your friends, your teammates, seeing you in your most vulnerable, where you're in this experience, facing this diagnosis goes a long way for me, especially. My best friends are 7 people that I was telling you about in my class. I specifically with them, I definitely opened up and I trusted them with my feelings and being vulnerable to them. That definitely strengthened our relationship. And coming back to the team, the experience and the strength that you have to show when going through something like that. I always try to be humble about it. People on your team definitely look up to you about it. Just having gone through that, and people in general, really, that definitely brings a certain level of maturity and having a new perspective and an outlook that most people really don't have can definitely add to your leadership as well on the
Hmm.
field and off too, for sure.
Hmm.
A lot of times with these conditions, we end up learning life lessons much sooner than we otherwise would have, maybe not even
Mhm.
learned at all. I'm curious if there's any other things that you've taken away from this experience that you don't think you would have gotten to as early or if ever on your journey.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. This is definitely a huge thing for me. I was 19 at the time when I was facing this life-threatening illness, and not entirely mature yet. I was still a freshman in college. I thought I was invincible. Never in a million years did I think I'd have to go through something like this, let alone at that time. And so throughout the experience, there were a lot of gifts that on the other side of it, that I have gotten from it that many people may never face in their life, especially for me at that young age. It's definitely a blessing for me. I see that now more than I ever have before. The main thing that I've been saying, perspective, the new outlook on life, valuing the little things that many people take for granted. And also the value of taking care of your overall life, your health, your relationships, the people around you. I'm really, really valuing those and being blessed and feeling lucky for the moment that you're living in. That's another thing that I picked up as well. Especially living in the moment is something that I didn't really do before. I was young. I guess I still am now, but I really try to value the moment that I'm in more so than I ever did before. That's definitely a thing that many people can learn. Instead of worrying about the future, worrying about things that haven't even happened yet that maybe you don't have control over, really valuing where you are and feeling blessed and lucky for where you're at in life and worrying about those things when they come up to you.
Hmm. Hmm. You're communicating a particular kind of wisdom that's beyond your 22 years of age, man. It's very,
Well,
very
thank you.
profound.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you feel are your hopes now? Like you're entering this final year of playing soccer. Like where do you find your hopes sort of turning you toward?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. It's like a new chapter in my life. I was so connected and so tied to my time at William and Mary, especially because of everything that I went through and ended up going back there all in those 4 years. It was really a whirlwind, and I'm forever grateful for having gone to that school and meeting the people that I met. But I think anybody would feel how I'm feeling right now, going into a new chapter of their life. I just graduated from college. I am going to a new school. I'm going to be playing on a new team, and hopefully after that, I will get a job and start working and doing something that I love.
Mhm.
And so for now, that's something that I'm still ongoing, really trying to figure out. But going back to my point about living in the moment and feeling grateful for where you're at, I'm very excited. I'm very grateful to be going to this new school and having a new experience before I get into the next step of life, which is adulting. So
Yes, there it is.
yeah.
Gratitude is so powerful, though, in staying in the moment and
Hmm.
getting through those tougher times. We have so much to be thankful for, which you have clearly communicated. It's not the positive toxicity, but
Hmm.
really being thoughtful and meaningful about expressing that gratitude. So thanks for lifting that up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that everybody can carry in their life. And that's one of the big things I took away from my situation for sure. Because I know from personal experience that everything that you've ever worked for, the school you go to, the sport that you play, the relationships that you've built can be taken from you in a second. So that's another thing that goes into it is really valuing the moment.
You had mentioned that so much of your identity was wrapped up in soccer, and now
Mhm.
you're pivoting to a new stage in your life. How do you build up or keep your self worth outside of being tied to collegiate soccer player?
Yeah, yeah. When I was a freshman at the time, like you said, my entire identity was based around the fact that I was a soccer player, but it's something that's definitely changed for me over time, especially after my illness, realizing that as important as it is and as far as sport has carried me, it doesn't define who I am. I'm not just Webb, the soccer player. I'm way more than that. That's another blessing that I got because that's something that I would have struggled with otherwise. It was letting go and figuring out what I was going to do next with my life without soccer in my life. Even though it still is for one more season, I definitely find that I value other things more than I did before, like trying new experiences outside of just sports and spending more time with my family and my friends and realizing that at the end of the day, it's just a sport. It doesn't make you who you are. It's just a sport that you play. And as important as it doesn't define who you are. And that's definitely something that I have taken away from my experience as well. Yeah.
I appreciate that because whether your identity is wrapped up in a sport, or sometimes we can even have our identity be wrapped up in our diagnosis. And
Mhm.
it's not always easy to take that step back and it's like, no, I am way more than this. There's a lot else out there to value.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
What is something that comes to mind? And the question that we ask here often is like, how you do define invisible strength for yourself?
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
think about all you've gone through.
Mhm. So invisible strength is the internal battles that you face that you don't verbally talk about or maybe even show. Whether and this goes for anybody, not just myself.
Yeah.
Challenges that people are facing where they have this internal battles and this internal questions about why they have to go through this or maybe I really don't want to do this, whatever it is. And having the strength and the courage to face it and attack it head on. That's what I would say invisible strength is. Not necessarily something that you speak about to other people. And this goes back to my other point of realizing that whatever it is you're going through, it's your challenge. It's your own personal problem to deal with. And as good as your support system may be and all these people talking to you and wishing you well, at the end of the day, it's you going through it. And all the internal, mental, emotional battles that go on inside of you throughout that challenge and while you're facing it and then eventually overcoming it is what I would define invisible strength as.
Hmm. Thank you.
Wonderfully said.
Right?
Yeah. So you have stared death in the face. Chris and I have both had life threatening complications at various times. And I know a lot of our community members have been in that situation due to various complications with their conditions. For anyone who is in the thick of it right now, any words of advice or encouragement for when they're earlier on and haven't processed all
Mhm.
of it yet?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, especially now in the moment, it's very hard to look to the future and have your plan set out of what you're going to do. Even myself, I questioned where I was at a lot. I really wish that I wouldn't have had it in the moment. But some advice I would have for people out there going through an illness or a chronic disease, I really, really, one, lean on the people around you. I truly believe that's a huge reason of how I ended up getting through my challenge. Another one would be really taking it one step at a time
Hmm.
and then being in the moment and not stressing or worrying too much about the what ifs and what could be's and stacking up little wins. This is one thing that I started to do when I was in the hospital was maybe I go outside and I go for a walk. Maybe I go outside, sit in the sun. Maybe I call my grandparents. Whatever it is, something small. Those definitely stack up and boost your morale and make you feel better about yourself. Another thing that I wanted to bring up in terms of like questioning and really figuring out like how could this happen to me. One thing that my mom said to me throughout the entire thing, from my diagnosis onwards, she always said that everything happens for a reason. Whether it
Hmm.
was something bad happened during that, I got like a bad test result, whatever it is, she would always just go, everything happens for a reason. It took me a long time to realize that because I'm gonna be like how could this happen to me? Why is this going wrong? Stuff like that.
Hmm.
But for people who are just in the beginning of it, really try to realize that everything does happen for a reason. God gave you a purpose, and maybe this diagnosis or this illness, it makes you unique and it makes you you, and it's part of your story. And you should really embrace it and not be ashamed or embarrassed or scared to show vulnerability to other people because it makes you. Uh, and yeah, that's one sentence that I has been instilled in me from my parents and my mom specifically is that everything happens for a reason, whether good or bad.
Totally agree.
Hmm.
Totally agree. No, that's such a powerful way to live and just really truly transformative.
Hmm.
Really.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Webb, you're mature beyond your years, like we've said.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Very much an inspiration. So, for people who want to follow you, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Yeah. And yeah, I'll be playing for George Washington University's upcoming season in my last year of competitive soccer. So
Good stuff.
definitely looking forward to that.
That'd be great, man. We'll be rooting for you. Of
Thank you. I appreciate it.
course.
Yeah, that deserves a congrats. Amazing accomplishments.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys having me on too. It's been a while since I've had to delve. It's been 3 years since
Right.
all of this stuff went on. Oftentimes I forget about it or I try to block it out that it happened. And it's always good to look back and delve into those memories and speak about it with people. Mhm.
Yeah. A woman once told me you should thank your past self even through those trying times because that really makes you who you are today. And you're a great example of that.
Yes, yes. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. For anyone who's listening, if today's episode hit home, if you're sitting in that place of, I don't know what's next, all that what if spiraling, I want you to check out invigorateyourjourney.com. We have a free 2-minute quiz where we can meet you where you're at on your journey and get you the resources and support you need. So until next time, take care. Peace. Thanks, Chris and Webb again.
Indeed, y'all. Take care.
Take care, y'all. Thank you.